When it comes to e-notes, Onyx is king. They've secured one of the largest lineups of devices and have pioneered numerous features over their impressive 10-year streak. Coming in at the right moment is this work of art, the Tab Ultra C. Although they're a little bit late to the party, they seemingly took their time. Also, with the release of the Tab Ultra, they were evidently laying the groundwork for this to share the exact same shell. This unit, much like the Tab Ultra, is gorgeous. Chiseled edges, good color scheme, identifying Boox pattern, and an aluminum build. Most impressive thing is that this marks the second manufacturer that is using Kaleido 3 on a 10.3-inch screen. We have no doubts this is going to perform quite wonderfully, but it is our job to check it out all the same. The Pen 2 Pro has got to be the best Wacom pen that a manufacturer includes with purchase. There's a couple third parties like Mitsubishi and Lamy, etc. that are very, very high quality, but they're mostly third party. This one is gorgeous. It also introduces a tactile feel eraser that actually presses in on the back with a little bit of a gap. Very nice tips as well, although they've done away with the air tips. It has a very good length to it, and it snaps to the side of the unit. The magnets are adequate. They're pretty strong when it comes to left and right, but as you swivel it, it does break away pretty quickly, but that's totally fine. They even give you a thimble cap, which basically no other manufacturer gives you. It's just to protect the tip while the device is in motion. In the e-note world, Onyx's UI is essentially perfection. It's just perfect. You have everything exactly where you need it to be, and it is very clear as to what you need to do. There's no learning curve with an Onyx device. You have your apps here. If you swipe over here, you have all your panels. You have a top drop down that has all of your information on it. This is where everything is going to be your go-to. You have the glow light on and off, which we'll show you in a little bit. You have airplane mode, you have EINK center, rotate, screencast, a whole bunch of stuff. The most important thing out of all of this, because of the color and because it being an Onyx device, you have to live and die by these speed modes, is the EINK center. This is where you're going to find your dark color enhancement, your vivid enhancement, your color brightness, and your speed settings, HD, balanced, fast, and ultra fast. We will be kind of going in and out of these as we go, and we will show you a side-by-side comparison when we get into videos. Onyx was the first company to offer out-of-the-box Google Play, and what that means is before you had to go through these backdoor entries and these workarounds and GSF IDs, now you simply just log into it. You put your email, you put your password, you log in. From here you have access to millions and millions of applications. We will test the keyboard now that we're here. The keyboard is a typical QWERTY keyboard with secondary keys for long presses. For example, if I want plus, you long press on plus and that pops up. You get secondary and tertiary keys as well for different types of symbols, and you get Chinese emojis and the like. We are going to search for Kindle for now because we are going to download the Amazon Kindle app to show it off on this unit, because typically it's better than the stock Neo Reader app anyways, so that's what we're going to be going with. If you swipe up from the bottom and the left and right, you get different gestures. So you get forward and back and home and all that kind of stuff. So they do give you gesture support, although you can change it to the typical Android keys at the bottom. The e-reading experience is only going to be as good as the app you are using. The main app, the Neo Reader, is adequate, but we recommend getting something with a little bit more of an ecosystem, a little bit more tie-ins with other features like the Amazon app. With the Amazon app, you can turn pages pretty quick. You can see there is a little bit of a page turn animation, but you can mitigate that with the speed modes. I will say that color screens never look that great in black and white. Reason being, if you look at the white polymer background we have, with the white of this, it's extremely gray and much less white than other e-readers we have seen in the past, and that's just inherently the problem with Kaleido 3 screens. Because remember, whether you're on a Fujitsu or a Bigme or an Onyx, the screen is from the exact same company. They're all from EINK, so it's only going to be as good as the actual core materials that they use in the EPD or the electronic paper display. But now that you have color, you can see you can really take advantage of those color highlights. You can do pinks, you can do blues, you can do purples and lilacs, and just depending on the app, it's so nice to have the option of color. A lot of people say maybe I don't need that, but you know, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. One thing we will use the stock experience for, however, is the PDF section. Why? Because it doesn't really work with other devices when it comes to that. Note-taking is pretty much exclusive to the PDF Neo reader. Anything else like Scribble or Sketch or Paint is not going to work with the same latency as Neo reader will. So with this, the colors look alright. They look a little bit muted, but what you can do is you can change that with things in the EINK center, and we'll show this more when we get into some photos. But you see, as you change things, certain portions like the contrasts, the highlights, and the lowlights will kind of come through. So you have to kind of live and die by the EINK section, the EINK center, when you are using each respective thing. So for example, this is very dark right now. You might want to boost the vividness. This does have pinch and zoom as well. It's pretty fast, I must say, and you do get a little mini map in the top right corner when you are moving the screen around. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you got it like that, you start to see where you are on the page. You can long press things, you can take your notes, and if you tap the center, you get some additional features. Right down here, you get format, you get read back, which it doesn't always work on side-loaded PDFs because there's a lot of elements it can't read, like headers, etc. If you go to format, you do have some ways to change the display, crop, margin, or enhance the text. Split view is great, so you can go into handwritten notes, for example, and what this is going to do is split the UI into two elements. You're going to have the document you're working on right now on the left, and it's going to be completely different and autonomous from the one on the right. So this is going to be your notes, and this will be your doc right here. Now they do have to trigger each one, so it's not quite as seamless as other manufacturers. So for example, if I'm writing here and I try to write on there, it won't do it. It says you have to kind of lock it in, and then when you go over here, you now have access to this one, in which case you do have access to the full experience. You can change pages, you can change your pens, and all of that is going to update live as you are working on either side. So this is a very useful tool. Finally, manga is in color, but that's a little bit of an inside joke because manga is never in color when you buy it from a store. You get the cover art and maybe a little insert, but pretty much it's always black and white. But either way, let's check out the manga experience. This is very nice. We're using the Amazon Kindle application. Unfortunately, unlike graphic novels, manga does not have guided view or panel view. So if I click on something, it's not going to go panel by panel, it's simply just going to do a zoom. But overall, Onyx does give you a very good refresh, and it is very quick. It's a very quick device. It's good to have an absolute maxed out stack of specs, because it's just better to be faster than slower. If you're faster, you don't always need to worry about where your speed is coming from, where your processor is, and do I have enough RAM. You're always going to have those attributes under your belt that you can just trigger at any time. Manga experience, top notch. The note-taking experience is extensive, so buckle up. If you have a seatbelt, put it on right now. You get a ton of templates. My goodness, some of the templates even have colors as a default. This is just the common ones with 4 tabs. You also have work with a couple there. You have study, you have other, you have custom, and you can load in your own. I just discovered some of these. They look like little journals, which is amazing. But for the sake of note taking, you guys can figure that out yourselves. We're just gonna go over to black and white. Now, there are a ton of features. Also, Onyx is one of the only companies that allows you to add pens. You can do pencil yellow, add another pen and do pen gray, add one more while we're at it, and do calligraphy with maybe a light blue, and I believe you can add up to 5. Yes, there we go. The last one will do brush with pink. Now that you're on here, you have this beautiful writing experience. Now, I must say, when it comes to eNotes, we've been dabbling in it a lot. We really know our eNotes. We've been in it. We've made our own pens. We've made our own eNotes. Onyx is a very fast experience, and it gets even silly faster if you go into the EINK Center and you go to ultra fast. Now it's just not even fair. It's almost like you're writing on a piece of paper. Your eyes can't pick up the latency differences. It's just so quick. But for the sake of keeping this completely in the best look possible, we're going to go to HD mode. Now, when you're in HD mode, it's still as fast as you need it to be, which is amazing. But I must say, the writing feel is not that great on an Onyx. It's very smooth. And some people subjectively might say, I like a smooth experience. But this one is not very realistic. It's not very paper-like. So if that's a concern of yours, you need to know that, because it is something that you're going to spend a lot of money on. If you want something that feels like paper, this one isn't it. Onyx has a ton of layers. I believe you can add 6 layers if we go to the layer section and we keep it as template layer plus 5 layers with a total of 6. So what this means is if you're on layer 4, you then head over to layer 5, choose a different pen, draw over that. If you were to erase on the page, you're only affecting the top layer and aren't affecting any other layer. They also allow you to expand your canvas. For example, you can go 1x2, 2x1, etc. If I go 1x2, that means I've elongated my canvas. So I now have to scroll up and down. They give you a mini map to show you where you are and show you where your mark is as well. So that means that you have to kind of get used to where you expand your canvas, because there's a lot of hidden potential on any of the 4 sides that you can customize. They also have shapes as well. You can make lines, you can make circles, squares, rhombuses, pentagons, and the beauty about this is that they don't hold you back with any restrictions. Watch this. If I wanted to make a red pentagon with a thick line and broken dots for drafting purposes or whatever, I can do that. Why this is useful is because without the broken dot preset, you would never be able to make that yourself. For example, I go into a circle and I want a dark gray kind of mid-range tight broken dot, and there we go, I've made that. No other manufacturer gives you this flexibility in your note-taking shape entry. You also get the lasso tool, which allows you to grab something like that, move it around, change its dimensions, change its aspect ratio, make it smaller, make it bigger, rotate it, stamp it, change the colors, send it, copy, cut. Lot of functionality with the lasso tool. You know, it always impresses me when manufacturers try new things, and this just came out on this unit. Control. They have touch ban, which basically bans the touch of the capacitive, but they also have banned gestures and the system bar. So maybe you're always accidentally doing the top drop down. You can disable those respectively, which is crazy. You also have a zoom and you have text. So you can pop some text on the screen, write your name like that, click enter, click out, and it's going to land it on the page right there. Insert is also very useful as well. You can insert various things from recorder, images, attachments, link to notes, link to files, and link to websites. So this is basically like hyperlinks. You can access a website, plump it on the page, and away you go. You can add a page on the bottom right there, and you can go through an additional drop down to do search, full refresh, page minus, save, share and export, recordings, position, and customize toolbar. Customizing the toolbar will allow you to change what you see on the side, what you want to remove, and what you want to be hidden to the more section. Something we want to show right now is share and export, because this gives you a bunch of different options. When you go share and export, it allows you to choose a page, like so, then export selected. From here, you can name it, you can do PDF, PNG, vector-based PDFs, and you can share it to other apps on your unit. So if you have Facebook Messenger, Gmail, WhatsApp, anything else on your unit, you can click that, and it's going to scan your unit for the apps you have, convert it to a PDF, and you can send to Kindle, print it right from your device, what have you. Very good integration and completely usable for workflow. Don't be too amazed, I didn't draw that, but this is a good way to kind of look at all the colors. Now, there is something about Kaleido 3 screens, regardless of what manufacturer you get, you need to turn on the glow light a little bit. It just doesn't look that great without some glow light. Doesn't need to be a lot, but look how much 40 to 50% changes it. It really does boost its vividness so you can get a good handle on things. The beauty about Kaleido, especially Kaleido 3, is that it doesn't blend into each other. The thing we saw with a lot of other technologies, especially DES Slurry from Weifeng, it just seems like it's never that great of an experience usability-wise in the real world. You always had this mishmash mix and bleeding into each other, but there's very concise lines when it comes to Kaleido 3, and you can see all of that on the Kaleido 3 coverage we've done. We've done comparisons, we've done all the color text next to each other. It is quite nice, and it's the most usable and really the only EINK tech outside of Gallery. Even then, Gallery's a little bit slow, but this is the one that you want. Kaleido 3 is the direction we all need to head. Let's just look at some photos right now, and we've covered all this in the Kaleido 3 versus Kaleido 2 comparison videos and review panel videos and stuff like that, but let's just go over it. So when you look at the pictures and you look at the colors, they are as good as can be. Now, we've seen recently some other emerging technologies from EINK like Gallery 3, Spectra, Prism, etc. So there's a lot of other things that may look a little bit better than Kaleido, but none of them are going to be as fast as this, not by a long shot. So let's just go with this one because it's a very nice kind of little bit vivid, little bit pastel themed kind of photo. So we're going to go to the EINK center. We're going to change some things. First, we're going to change the vivid enhancement, see what that does. So you get a little bit more rich yellow. And then we're going to change the color brightness. That just basically kind of desaturated it a little bit. It looks a little bit more fuzzy. I kind of like that lower so that I don't have a lot of that fuzziness coming through. You can make it a little bit more rich and a little bit more dark by adjusting the dark color enhancement, aka the contrast. So your experience is going to look pretty different depending on what you are doing. Also, how you're activating the front light, or if you're using the warm light, it's going to look different as well. So your color experience is going to vary pretty drastically based on what you are on when it comes to the modes, when it comes to the glow light, when it comes to all of these things that you have to worry about changing. I'm not complaining, it's good to have all these features, but it is going to be vastly different. So if I have that full, that's going to look very different than when I turn everything off and it looks a little bit more dry. So play around with them, choose your modes properly, and you'll get an amazing experience. So because this has a camera, which is getting a little bit more prominent on e-notes and tablets that run e-paper screens, so we have to scan something. We already did a test scan, but I'm just going to do it again to show you guys the process. You say doc number 2 and you get some documentation right here. So we're just going to hold this above the screen, and it's not instant. You actually have to trigger it. So we're going to hold it about there, click on OK. Click on the next step and we'll see what happens. So I've just taken a picture of the recent Kindle Scribe update. You say next step. You can do a few things here. You can change it into a note. You can just export it directly to a PDF if you want to take a picture of something you signed. Or you can use OCR, which actually transcribes it for you. So we'll see how accurate it ends up being once we see it down below. Once it gets it down, we'll see how accurate this actually is. Now, they missed a couple things like the indentations and whatnot, but for the most part, it got basically everything. And from here, click select all. From there, you can copy it. You can share it directly to another application. So if I just took a picture of something I signed and I want to email it back off, your email applications like Gmail, Hotmail, or Outlook will show up here. Click on that. Away it goes. I think it's more fitting to show off the glow light on a color image than it would be on an ebook. So we're just going to use this bird here, and we're going to change some things around. So we're going to go full intensity on the blue. It does look very blue. This is a very blue looking glow light, but they do have a warm light, so that just soon goes away. You can find a nice white like that. We'll go over to HD mode, and we'll add a little bit of vivid enhancement like that. So once we kind of move it around, it'll do a refresh. Go back to this. Looks beautiful. That's a very good experience, but you will see this is a very bright glow light. You can turn it down, I understand that. Just saying, it's a very bright experience. You can turn it down, you can match it, maybe around there. You get a little bit of a stone, little bit of a blue light cut, good on your eyes. This is a nice glow light. I do like it. There's no spillage. It's a very tight built device, so you don't see any overexposed sections. On a lot of plastic builds, you do see leakage from the side. This one, you're not going to find any of that. Onyx has never been one to shy away from a fight, and that's why they've come to the races with the perfect entry into their lineup, a 10.3 inch with a Kaleido 3 screen. The addition of the peripheral support like keyboards, Bluetooth remotes, etc. makes this a legitimately usable tablet PC with, within the world of e-paper screens, zero drawbacks. Kaleido 3 is the gold standard of color e-paper in the year 2023. And we're glad to see Onyx joining the ranks.